Hi friends, welcome back to Amanda's 5 to 9. Today we are going to be starting part 2 of my series in which I try to knit the perfect sock. If you've been following along, you'll know that I knit my first pair of socks very recently, and they were a cuff down using yarn that I got from a cruise in Alaska. And while I was very happy to finish my first pair of socks, they didn't quite fit me right. So today we are going to be trying a new method called the afterthought heel method, which I hear a lot of people like a lot better. And I'm also going to be sizing down my needles and stitch count. So originally I used a US 1. We're going down to US 0, which I cannot believe I'm actually going to use the smallest pair of knitting needles that I have in the set. And originally, based on my foot measurements, I thought that I needed to do like a 64 stitch circumference. I'm going to go down to 54. So we're getting a lot smaller and the gauge is going to be a lot tighter. So I'm hoping that will be a better sock fit. I'll talk a little bit about the afterthought heel method. Obviously, I am a beginner, so there are certainly better tutorials and things out there. So this video is not that. But I have finished one sock already. I learned from the first video that it's probably better to talk about this after you've done it once instead of kind of just stumbling through along with you. So basically the afterthought heel, I think this is why people like it a lot better. So you cast on some stitches for the cuff. If you'll notice, this is actually the yarn for my first pair of socks that I had leftovers for. And then you just knit a tube down while leaving some scrap yarn in for where you're going to pick up the stitches to knit the heel later. So you just knit down into a tube until you do the toe shaping. And the toe shaping is done exactly as I did in cuff down, where you're basically just doing some decreases on each side until you reach your recommended number of stitches, which for this pattern was about 24 stitches. And then you're going to pick up the stitches here, right where you have your waist yarn, take out the waist yarn, and then you do kind of very similar shaping to the toe. So if you can kind of see it, it looks kind of the same. Yeah, and these I thought this sock fit me pretty well compared to my previous one. For my second sock, I think I am going to increase by 2 stitches just because it's a little bit hard to get on at the cuff. And I'm not sure, whether that's going to take away from the overall fit because I can get it over my foot and then it does fit quite nicely and snug. Yeah, so that is the journey that we are going to go on today. So I am just about to start the toe shaping. This actually went a lot faster than it did last time. It took me about 2 months to finish the first sock on and off. But again, you can see where I'm going to add the heel in. And basically the toe shaping works very similar to the cuff down, if you have done that before, where we are going to split the stitches in half between this stitch marker and one that I'm going to place on the other side, and then just do 1 row of decrease on each side, and then 1 row of knit, 1 row of decrease, 1 row of knit, until we have, I believe, 24 stitches overall. And then we're going to Kitchener stitch it closed. And then we are going to pick up the stitches back here and pop out the heel. It's a little bit difficult to figure out or to estimate exactly where you should or when you should be starting the toe. So what I try and do and what the pattern recommended was to estimate another 1.5 here and then another 2 inches or so for the toe. And think about whether that is enough room for your foot. I did also try this on a few times to try and help estimate that. So I think that helps. So the next time we see each other, this will have a toe and this tube will be closed. My office is in total disarray because we are packing up, but we do have a new pair of socks all blocked on these nice sock blockers that I got in Seattle. And we're all finished. So now that I have completed my second sock method, I think we can compare them. Overall, I found this to be an easier method, and I feel like it's not the one that I read was recommended for beginners, but I think it's actually easier for beginners if you have some experience with picking up stitches and things like that. That did take me a little bit to get the hang of, not for the socks, but just in general. I think it's more straightforward because you're just kind of knitting a tube, and I think easier if you are on the go because you don't have to keep checking back on your instructions. Whereas when I made the first pair of socks, which were cuffed down, I felt like I was constantly measuring, and we don't really have to do that. So the third and I think final, in my mind, sock method will be toe up construction. And that is what I will be doing next. I still have a ton of this yarn, and I'm thinking that will be the toe, the heel, and the cuff of my next pair of socks. And maybe I'll pick up some like navy to go with it, to go for more of a solid sock. So yeah, I'm happy to have completed my second pair. Thanks for hanging out with me while I go on this sock journey. If you would like more real-time updates on how knitting is going, you can always follow me on Instagram at Amanda's5to9. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.